Hello and welcome to session 1 of 2 for a game called Dangerous Times. This was part of the zine RPG push, the last Kickstarter thing, and I have the PDF and I've printed out copies of the pages. It probably would have been more efficient for me to get a physical version because now I've just got a bunch of sections stapled together. But we're going to be playing it. It is a game set in an old New York. But old New York being the 1920s, sort of early 1920s, so we're just post World War I. Part of the premise here is that recently magic has been revealed to the world. The kind of secrets of it have gotten out there, and so that's kind of brimming underneath for our world and our characters here. This session is part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. The Gauntlet is an online gaming club / community that we have a calendar app that's dedicated to that. We have a podcast network associated with it. We have a Patreon that supports the podcast. It supports the calendar. At a certain level, you can get our monthly, or not our monthly, but our Codex magazine that comes out. And there's also extra bonuses on that. And then at a certain level, you can get access to that and get RSVP access to our calendar a few days ahead of time. Right now, we've set that at 72 hours. We've kind of shortened that window to try and help bring in more people from generally online. So that's where that is. Again, if you want to find out more about that, gauntlet-rpg.com is where you want to go. My name is Lowell, and I do not have a fancy backdrop. Unlike Scott, and pronouns he, him, and we're going to get started here. I'm going to go through the basics of what the pitch is for the game. I'm going to talk about safety, and then we're going to come and have our players kind of come up with some concepts for their characters. There's not much in the way of character creation. It's not a deep thing, but there is a lot of collaborative building at the start to kind of set up what the stories are that we're going to explore. And the rules are very free form on how you do this. So we're going to kind of feel our way as to what the procedure is that we want to handle what we're kind of developing in that process. So concept, intrepid muckraking reporters in a magical 1920s New York. This is early 1920s. So we are several years away from the Great Depression, but it is looming on the horizon. We're still in the high life. Our general approach is that we start with our reporters meeting. There are some facts that are put on the table by the editor. That's the GM. And we're going to look at those and kind of come up with some rumors and some questions based on those. We're all going to kind of develop those. And those are then going to be the things that we're going to follow up and trying to find sources, trying to get details from that, following through. It's a very simple D6 system for resolution. The tone is that our reporters are trying to make a difference in a somewhat gritty city. Our play may have some darkness to it. Magic kind of sits at the fringes of things. It's not full horror like Penny Dreadful, but it probably falls somewhere between Boardwalk Empire and Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries. I think are as wild as that span is. It's kind of somewhere in between there. So with that in mind, we have some safety tools that we'll be using. I've played with all of you before, so I know you're familiar with this. The baseline is our lines and veils. And that is on a tab on our character keeper. Again, lines being anything we're like, nope, we don't, that's not on the table and that's not up for elements of the game. You can put that there. And then veils being anything that if it pops up, we're going to elide it. We're going to fade to black when that element comes up. So you can do that at any point through here. And before we actually get into sort of the collaborative play section, I'll stop and take a look at those. That's then also supported by the X card. The X card is on the table as an element if we hit things that fall outside of the lines of veils, or if we accidentally trip over that and we don't realize it, the X card is there to provide us a stopgap to bring us up and have us, go back and revise. This can be done for anything which is you find offensive, find triggering, that hits on a phobia, as has happened before at the table, or if you find that something is wildly off tone. Another player's suggestion or the GM suggestion, anything like that. Those are all reasons to use the X card. And I recommend saying X card or just doing the gesture, and we'll kind of get that cleared out. No real questions asked except for where we need to cut. And then the last thing is there is a open door in the sense that if you need to step away from the table for whatever reason, physical health, emotional health, whatever, you can do that, no problem. Maybe do a BRB, but you don't have to do that. And generally, I want us to make sure that we have connection with those safety tools, and that if anything is hitting on things that you're like, I don't want to go down that road, that we're saying that ahead of time. So those are the important issues in terms of safety. We're going to go now, and we're going to look at characters. So what you're going to need to decide for your character is essentially a good name, and a sense of maybe who they are. Are they old and jaded? Are they young and excited? What is their lifestyle like? What's their ethnicity and so on in a 1920s New York? Those are the big questions. And then the other questions are what their beat is, which these are like groups of people. And our 6 beats are the cultists, plutocrats, scientists, club crowd, politicians, gangsters, and magicians. And that's actually 7, not 6. That's how magical it is. So that's 7. What that means is, in terms of actual play, is we assume that your PC has some connections with that beat. But it also means that you're the expert on that beat. That as a player, you're the person, if we need to come to decisions about what's going on with that, we're going to come to you with that. For each beat, there's a sheet in the PDF in the folder that I sent you that has some underlined things and stuff. So once you choose your beat, you're going to want to keep that there. The other thing is the neighborhoods, and they're described on their neighborhood sheets, and that's Brooklyn Heights, Mott Haven, Harlem, Astoria, the Gas House District, St. George, and Greenwich Village. So you become the expert of those areas. So, Stephen, I see that you have put in a name. Do you have a sense of who you're imagining for your character?
Yeah, I named my character Clara Mulroney. I'm picturing her as like a Hildy Johnson, Lois Lane type.
Okay.
Just this tough as nails reporter who's also young and pretty. I was thinking maybe the mobster beat and the gas house district, or gangsters beat.
So what has driven Clara to take this job, to become a reporter?
I think she was fascinated by wartime correspondence when she was younger. It's just, this is her romantic dream job, is writing the truth, exposing the truth. She would love to be a wartime correspondent, but there's no war going. I mean, we had just had the war to end all wars, so there's never going to be another war.
Absolutely, not going to happen again.
Yeah. Right, but there's the war on crime.
Do you think that she grew up in New York, or is she from outside New York?
Yeah, I think she grew up in New York. I mean, I think her parents were probably born in the city. They were like, but her grandparents were immigrants. So
Uh,
So her parents grew up in the city. Her grandparents, it was always it's still a little strange to them.
and how long do you think that Clara has been here? Just a few months, or has she been pushing to become the dauntless girl reporter for some time?
And I think she's been at the paper for 5 years, long enough to make a reputation.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so Gangsters and Gas House District. The Gas House District, I'm going to grab my little printout of the sheets. Get my neighborhood things here.
Yeah, that's up near Greenwich Village.
And it's not a great part of town, is it?
No, it's not. She had to prove herself. She took the toughest stories. As soon as she got on the paper, it's like nobody thought that this young girl barely out of her teens was going to be able to report on the gas house district, but she proved she could.
All right. Populated mostly by immigrants and working class, and eventually the government is going to construction is going to force residents out to build new neighborhoods
Yeah,
there.
and come to think of it, that's probably where she grew up.
Okay. All right. Well, that gives me a good sense of that. Let's come around to Scott. Scott, tell us about who you are.
Yep. So I am Frank. Well, I'm Scott Ryder. I go by he, him pronouns. And I'm playing Frank Calhoun, who also uses he, him pronouns. And um, his current beat is the cultists, um, specializing in Greenwich Village, which of course has attracted many cultists since becoming a bit bohemian in the last decade. And continuing into the 20s.
And how long has Frank been a reporter?
Frank's been a reporter since so he just missed the war, and so was able to go to a correspondence school for journalism, and while working a couple of jobs, and has enjoyed writing. Grew up in the Greenwich Village or near the Greenwich Village area, so is familiar with lots of writers, and always aspired to be, you know, the next James Joyce, but not everybody can be.
Did you grow up in the city then too? You grew up in Greenwich Village, you said?
Yeah, in and around, yeah.
What was your connection? You say that you just missed the war. Did you have family members that were at war, or was your family kind of completely insulated from what happened?
We were insulated. I was the only son. The U.S. entered, the states. We entered late, and so I at the time wasn't eligible for serving.
And what does Frank look like?
Frank has. I actually have a picture. I just haven't inserted it yet.
Okay.
But Frank wears well, you'll see it. Frank has a pipe that he has on him at all times. Doesn't really smoke a pipe. He just thinks it makes him look a bit older, a bit more distinguished. He's dressed in stylish enough suit for the day. Waistcoat and maybe a plaid outfit of some kind. What he can afford. So not dressed to the nines, but dressed like a man, a gentleman.
And Greenwich is artistic, bohemian, but is becoming less that as the artists are kind of pricing people out there. So we know that. what made Frank take up the cultist beat?
He sees them as kind of among the forces that are driving out people like his parents, who are more of the standard set, and from that area. So there we go. Got that out of the way.
Okay.
So they're encroachers. They're ruining the way of life.
So definitely has a negative attitude about the various cults and societies that have sprung up. Okay. All right. That gives us a good sense of Frank Calhoun. Bethany, let's come to your character.
Yeah. Hi. So I am playing Elijah Smith. I might change the beat. Right now I have magicians, and I think that might overlap with cultists too much. The neighborhood is Mott Haven, because it seems like there's a lot of variety of things that could conceivably go on there.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know a whole lot about
Sure.
the character or the beats yet.
Do you imagine young, old?
I think probably older than the other two.
Okay. Been on the job for a while?
No, I think he did something else first.
Okay.
So I don't think he's actually been here that long, but because he's older and because I think he acts like he knows what he's doing, whether he does or not. So people just assume that he's been there forever.
And what does Elijah look like?
That is an excellent question. I think he's the kind of person that can blend in easily, which might have factored in his career choice. I think that he realized at some point that he was able to learn things and just kind of hang out and eavesdrop, and nobody ever asked him what he was doing there or, who the hell he was. And, he decided to put that talent to use.
I like that. And Mott Haven is a kind of industrial section of town. Magicians might be a fine beat to have. I think in part because I know what facts you're about to get.
Okay.
I think having cultists and magicians might be actually a good combo there. Okay. Magicians being the more organized kind of society. We imagine them as, some people are probably getting low rent magical training, but other people are probably forming into clubs and things like that. They're probably schools. But we'll kind of figure out what that looks like. Assuming that you're okay with magicians, what did Elijah just fall into that, or is that something that Elijah is curious about, or does Elijah do magic?
He might be a failed magician. There we go. Can't talk. I think his talent for being unnoticed and blending in is not an asset trying to do magic. It's hard to distract people from what you're doing when they don't look at you much. So, yeah.
Yeah. He has some natural medical talent, but not in the right place. Okay.
Right. Yep.
All right. So with that in mind, with those characters in mind, I'm going to hide this last column here quickly. Hide columns. There we go. What we're going to do is I want to kind of go through the structure of play, how things work, just to show you here. So what we're going to be doing here in a second is there's going to be a staff meeting, and I've got a tab for that. I've taken one of the sort of plot sheets that they have in the book, a thing called The Ruins of Dreamland, talk about Coney Island's parks. I've got a set of 5 facts / hearsay. We've also got some questions. What we're going to do in a bit is we're going to come around and we're going to come up with some rumors. And rumors are what certain groups think about what's going on. We're going to kind of develop those out there. That's the key thing is X group thinks this thing is happening as a result of this or because of this. And we're going to build up a set of those rumors to explore. They don't necessarily have to be tied to your beats or your neighborhoods, but it's often good to make some connections on that. Now, actual play then is going to work. We have that staff meeting. And once we've got that, we're going to play out scenes of all of you going and seeking out answers. There's just 1 die for any resolution, and you'll choose a mode for your approach. You generally want a 4+, and you're going to choose whether you're doing it cautiously, doing it steady, or recklessly. And depending on your mode and depending on what you roll, you can generate risk, which can create problems for you. We'll come to that when we get to those rolls and things. But the general structure is once we go to someone's turn, you'll collaborate with another player to come up with a source. We'll base it on some of the facts from the beats or neighborhoods. Once we have that source, you'll try to gain access to that source. And there's a roll for that. And then assuming that you gain access, then you can ask questions of that source, which will allow you to generate some facts that you can then have as hard facts. Even if you can't gain access, you can then decide to snoop around. If you can't get to your source, you can always snoop around, which is the more dangerous way of doing things, but you may be able to generate facts. And essentially, we're going to keep going around until everybody has generated several facts. We play out the scenes and so on. We'll stop, we'll slow down and get that structure when we get to those points. So with that in mind, we'll go to this. I'm going to talk about our lines and veils before we get that much further. So we have lines on 2 things. That is childhood abandonment and sexual assault. And then veils on graphic gore and torture. So those are all things that those last 2 that we will fade to black if we hit on any of those things. So, Stephen, what's the name of our paper?
The Gotham Star.
The Gotham Star. Is it an old and venerable paper, or is it an up and coming thing, or is it just a rag?
It's an up and coming thing that tries to look like an old and venerable paper.
So maybe they bought another failed papers building so they could have some call to dignity there. So they've been around a few years. Gotham Star probably got a nice little weird astrological logo thing going on there. Scott, your editor, man, woman, old, young?
I think old, and let's go with a woman.
Okay. Miss or Mrs. What do we want to call them? What's their name?
Let's go with this is the Gotham Star.
Yep.
Miss Star.
Star.
family-owned paper.
Absolutely. Someday in the future, she'll have a granddaughter named Brenda. Um, so we've got Miss Starr, older woman who runs the paper, probably decided to do this for personal reasons, maybe uncertain if there's secrets, skeletons in her closet. She is the editor-in-chief. The downstairs is the kind of the thrumming presses down below. So there's several flights of stairs up to the newsroom. There are probably pneumatic mail tubes, typewriters, secretaries, reporters on phones. There's probably a switchboard in there. The paper probably has a morgue, which is holds all the clippings of old things. Everything smells, even though you're not, the presses are a ways away, everything smells like ink here. I actually grew up, my mom worked at the local paper, and so I just remember that distinct smell and everything being slightly worn down, even in the 70s. So what's a weird feature of the newspaper building, Bethany? What's the thing that you're like, why is this here in the Gotham Star building?
There is a like a tunnel from the basement to the basement of another building. The other building is like, it's completely unrelated. And the question isn't so much like, what would you use a tunnel for? Because, you know, they put tunnels under streets all the time, especially in places where they have a lot of snow. That's probably not New York, but like the question is really, why would anyone have ever wanted to go in between these two buildings? Like, they have nothing to do with each other. And they, as far as we know, they never have.
Okay, I imagine that this tunnel goes over to like Filene's basement, like a clothing store, bargain store goes into
That sounds
there.
good, yeah.
The only nice thing being that there's actually a nice little diner in there, so you can kind of sneak through the tunnel and get up there when the weather's really bad.
Yeah.
I imagine that the three of you, amongst the other raconteurs of the paper, called into the editor's meeting room, and Mrs. Starr kind of goes through and she's reading off the various assignments, and then these are some of the facts that are being put into play. I'm not going to do her voice yet, but the plot piece that's given in the book says, the ruins of Dreamland, the shortest lived and most spectacular of Coney Island's 3 island parks. Dreamland died in a fire on May 27th, 1911. The Great Lagoon boiled dry, the Grand Ballroom burned to ash, and only twisted metal hunks remain of its roller coasters. The fire is said to have sparked during the renovation of Hellgate, a boat ride through a realm of subterranean horrors. Miraculously, nobody died. Even the 60 premature infants on display in incubators were rescued by their nurses. So, our facts and hearsay. Fact number 1, the free Coney Island trip for orphans may be canceled. Some people are saying that somebody doesn't want kids at Coney Island. Apparently, the city plans to buy the ruined land of Dreamland for $1.2 million, which probably is more than that land is worth. Number 3, mediums are hearing panicked animalistic noises, and some say occurrences are growing in power and frequency. Firefighters are being called out to non-existent blazes, which most people believe are pranks because only kids are reporting these. And the remaining parks, the other 2 parts of Coney Island, are having their best year ever. And there's sort of a strange excitement driving tourists. We don't know what that means. We have no idea. So let me talk about then what we do. So rumors are what a specific group thinks about a fact. Rumors can hold a hint of truth, or could turn out to be completely wrong. Every rumor needs to mention at least some group that believes it, but also add something to investigate. So they give a couple of examples. They say the dock workers say the fire was started for political reasons, or the mob claims the book was stolen from a Brooklyn library, or local police suspect a film crew was actually a cover for a crime. Stephen, what rumor do you want to put on the table here?
Right. Well, I've been talking to a lot of the construction workers, and the buzz there is that Columbia University is planning to build a new campus up there to study paranormal phenomena.
Going to build new campus for paranormal studies. Okay. Excellent. That gives us something to go on, maybe a connection, maybe something to explore there. We haven't heard. Columbia could be true, could be not true. Scott, what's another rumor that we want to put on the table here?
So with the rumors, we want to have this about the Coney Island story, or
they should relate to at least one of those facts in some way.
So the city council has been has ordered the police to kind of act as security on their off shifts for the land that the park is on.
So is that telling us about something that the city council believes? So we want to get something essentially, what does a group believe about one of these things?
Okay, so okay, that's right. So I'm going to revise that then. So the mayor's office believes that the mayor's office believes that when did this burn down? In 1911?
Yep. So
okay.
Over a decade ago.
Yeah, so 10 years ago. The current mayor believes that there are corpses of people from the fire that the city claimed no one had died, but indeed they had. That's what the mayor believes. That's what I heard.
Okay. All right, Bethany, let's get a rumor from you.
Yeah, let's see. Who would I have talked to? Somebody believes that the mob is actually behind all these fake fire calls. And the purpose is to drive down the price of the land because they want it themselves. Who I heard that from? Who did I hear that from? Let's see. Should it be one of the other beats, or?
It can be whoever you want. You can tie it into one of the beats that might be useful, or if you get some other good idea, we can work with that.
Oh, you know what? I asked a scientist about like what all of these phenomena could mean to get a different perspective, and they just like, no, there's nothing supernatural going on there. It's the mob trying to make that land less appealing.
So a famous scientist believes the mob is behind fake fire calls to drive down.
Yeah, the fake fire calls and like the the noises, I think, actually, it would be. Because the fake fire calls wouldn't necessarily make it less appealing. Real fires would, but...
Behind the weird noises. Okay. Excellent. That brings us back to you, Stephen. What is another rumor?
The local children are saying that that eyeless Tom is trying to protect the kids who are being kidnapped by the Red Hood cultists.
Okay, I like it. That gives us lots of interesting details to play with there. Scott, I come back to you again.
So some of the cultists in the village know some of those medians who've been hearing the noises, and they believe that there's something to be feared on that land.
And the cultists believe this?
Yep.
Okay. Some cultists in the village know the mediums and believe the cultists believe that there's something to be feared on the land. Bethany.
I overheard one of these very rich investors claiming that there was no way he would ever invest in the parts of Coney Island that are doing great because there was something fishy about it, and they would that was a very short-lived thing. Possibly the rest of it would burn down. He was sure that something was going to happen to it, though.
So we could take this property. So overheard rich investor claiming no way would invest in high rolling Coney Island property, will burn down. Does that seem like a good summary?
Yep.
Okay. The rules are remarkably unclear about how many rumors you're supposed to generate. So I think one more each should give us more than enough material to work for, if that seems okay. Stephen, let's come back to you.
All right. There's a rumor that there's going to be a big budget picture starting to shoot on Coney Island in the next couple of weeks, but for some reason nobody knows exactly what the movie is.
And perfect, of course, the film industry is still located here in New York, East Coast, before that split sort of comes around. So it's going to be a big budget picture, going to shoot on Coney Island, but nobody knows what film. Scott, what's the last rumor you wish to generate?
On mute.
Oh, that's okay.
So what's the gangsters, cultists, and magicians? All right, I'm going to yank in the magicians.
Okay.
Oops, I lost the staff meeting tab. There we go. Oh yeah, let me look at our other one. Boy, this is actually harder than it seems.
Yes.
The magicians believe the city is trying to obtain the land on the cheap and is raising money to counterbid the city.
Implying a strong interest on the part of the magicians. I like that. And last but not least, let's one more. Bethany, can you give us a third rumor?
Sure. Let me look at the list of facts we have here. So the trip for orphans, I think I've heard from. Who have I heard this from? Trying to bring in as many beats as possible here. Oh, I heard this at a club. That the biggest orphanage that was going to participate is actually run by cultists.
Heard from a club that the biggest orphanage involved with Coney Island tours is run by cultists. Does that seem like a fair summary? And so I imagine that we've got these things that your editor has been looking through there. Miss Starr, of course, it's the 1920s, so cigarette smoke is hazing throughout the room, and she's like, "Okay, so where are you going to be starting there, Claire? Where do you think you're going to go with this? Let's just give me a sense of that before I send you out of the field."
Yeah, I got I got a hunch that there's something behind these stories of child snatchers. And please say there's no one missing, but I'm not convinced.
Okay. So are you gonna start with the police or somewhere else?
I mean, I think I'm going to look for families. I think I'm going to figure out who is missing. I'm going to track down some of the families in these neighborhoods that don't talk to the police so much. Find out who's gone missing and what they know.
Okay. So just make sure you stick to the facts, stay in tight. We want a story to go with this, not just a bunch of girl reporter nonsense running around all over the place. Okay.
I get your facts.
Uh,
When have I ever
uh,
not gotten you facts?
that's true. Yeah, but strange days. What about you, Frank? You feeling up to going out on the beat? What do you think? This is some of it in your wheelhouse, some of it not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go find out more about this this eyeless Tom. Red Hood cultists seem a little shady word on the street, so I'm gonna find out a bit more about that.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, we've had this conversation before, but are there degrees of shady for cultists?
Oh yeah. Some of them just get together and just trying to maybe protect an area or or maybe take it over from the mob. But some of them want to take over the whole city. Those aren't the ones we like.
All right, yeah. Well, you certainly got some inroads in the cultists, so that's good. Um, what about you, Elijah? Where are you starting off this one?
Yeah. Well, the eyeless Tom and child snatching thing seems to be covered pretty well, so I believe I will. I'll talk to the mayor's office and see if I can find out if there's any truth to the rumors that people actually did die there.
Yeah, follow the money too. There's money. The mayor's office it's got something going on there, so you want to make sure you see that. See you can find that might be able to let you in on what's going on. All right. Well, you get out there, and I will hear back from you. And so let's take our break here, and then we'll come back and we'll start doing the go arounds to find things out. So let's take 7 minutes for our break here. Okay. So the way this works then is we kind of take turns. We'll go in that same order that we're going, setting up scenes, kind of describing where you're going to, with the idea that you are looking to figure out a source. And there's some collaboration to create that source. We're going to take it a little slow as we work through the kind of mechanical steps that are involved with that. So, Stephen, when Clara hits the streets, where is she headed?
There's a kid named Pete who runs one of the gangs, and Pete will know if there are any kids missing, if anybody does. But I mean, Clara is an adult, and Pete didn't get where he is by trusting nobody. So, if she wants to get some information out of him, she's going to have to prove herself to him, which is going to mean submitting to some kind of a dare.
Oh, interesting. So, where with these kid gang member, what they assuming that we had like a specific neighborhood or a specific beat that was associated with, we would definitely go to a particular player to get info from their sheet. But this seems kind of generic. Seems like we can kind of just do it on the fly. Does that seem reasonable?
Sure.
Yeah. So this Pete is newsy age. So has the doffed cap, and the rolled up sleeves, and when you get there, there's some other kids sitting in the corner, and they'll kind of look at you, and kind of he'll swagger up, holding himself with a confidence that belies his age, and he'll be like, "Is it Miss Mulroney?"
Hey, Pete, brought you some cigs.
Oh,
And I'll pass him a pack.
All right. Well, when you bring me smokes, you want something.
That's right, Pete. And I've been hearing stories about missing children. So I go to the cops. They say, "Oh, we don't know anything about no missing children." But it seems like seems like I don't think the cops are being straight with me. You think the cops are being straight with me?
Cops are never straight with you. You're a reporter. Why would they ever be straight with you?
That's what I was thinking.
So you want me to give you some information on this situation, is what you are telling me, then?
That is exactly what I'm telling you, Pete.
Okay.
And I'm not asking for much. I just need a place to start. Couple names.
Well, are you willing to do a dare on this one?
You know me, Pete. Have I ever backed down from a challenge?
Well, good, because we found a way up to the roof over at McGillicuddy's, and we've been doing jumps from roof to roof. So you think you can do a jump?
Of course I can do a jump. And
And so he will take you on up to the roof. The
yeah,
gang is kind of standing
yeah, and
around.
I'm going to add one of my personal details. What I fear most is heights.
Okay, absolutely. So you have a choice here. The way this works is essentially you're looking to get a 4+ to get access to for them to spill their beans about this. You've got 3 ways that you can do this. You can just do steady, where you roll a d6, just one, and we see what happens. You can do cautious, where you roll twice, or rather 2d6, and you take the lower number, but the chances of generating risk, generating problems for yourself are lower. Or you can be reckless. You roll twice and take the higher number, so odds are better that you're going to get what you want, but there's a much higher chance of getting risk. What would you like to do?
Oh, I think in this situation, I am definitely being reckless.
Absolutely. So to roll 2d6.
Yeah, and I think I'll check what I fear most is heights box, because I am definitely being driven by terror on this one.
Absolutely. So you get a point of credibility, but you're going to take a -1 on the final roll.
Okay. So I got a 3 and a 6.
Got a 3 and a 6. So the good news is, even with that penalty, you're going to succeed. The bad news is you're going to get a point of risk here. And what that means, because you rolled a 6, is we give you a little statement that you're going to put next to one of those dice on your character thing. Tell me what it looks like that when it doesn't quite go exact. I mean, you do it, but something slightly goes askew at the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, I take this running jump across the gap, and I have got my eyes closed as I go flying. So like when I land, I completely stumble and I slide, and I very nearly go off the other edge before grabbing onto a gutter and clambering back up.
I would like you to write in pounding heartbeat.
Okay, next to any particular number?
Nope, no, that's just like a 1 to 6 scale is what that does. So there's hooting and hollering, and some of the other kids will make their jumps over, and yeah, you get access here to your source, and what is it that you want to know? Let me tell you how this is going to work. We're going to play this out. You're going to get a point of credibility because you're asking questions. We could also have had, if we kind of set it up with another player playing the NPC, both of you and they would get a point of credibility. When you're done kind of shaping what you want to know, we'll roll a d6 to see whether you get a straight answer or a new rumor, or we kind of eliminate one of the facts.
And I feel like what I want is the name of somebody who definitely went missing on Coney Island.
Okay. All right. So let's have you roll a d6.
I got a 1.
Okay. So the good news is you gain a point of credibility. The bad news is we're going to cross out or rewrite one of the facts that we've established here. What might he tell you that kind of reframes or changes one of the facts that we've got established on the table?
All right, so you're talking about the 5 facts and not the rumors.
Yeah. Essentially, we pick a fact as a group and cross out a key part of it, replacing it with something else. And everybody in the group actually is going to gain credibility. So Scott, Bethany may also mark credibility. Maybe, if I may be so bold as to suggest, maybe we say that the rumors about it's actually that the orphans trip is going forward and somebody's putting money up for it.
Yeah, does
that seem reasonable?
Right. Somebody has been trying to stop the Coney Island trip, but they aren't able to because they aren't able to. The free Coney Island trip for orphans is going forward despite warnings.
Okay. All right, so we have modified that. So free Coney Island trip for orphans not canceled despite someone's attempt to stop it. Someone doesn't want the kids at Coney Island. So we've kind of built that up a little bit more. Okay. Let me do this. Now, I will mention to you too, the credibility that you have, you can use to bump results up. We'll just remember that for future things, that it is a currency. Let's come to Scott and
I don't have anybody else who's actually gone into the doctor.
And we're coming to Frank. What is Frank up to?
Yeah, so Frank is going to go. He's going to find out which of the bookstore basements the Red Hood cultists have been having their meetings in.
Okay.
So did I say it right? Yeah, Red Hood cultists.
Red Hood cultists. Do you think this is in a particular? That's certainly your beat. Is it in one of the neighborhoods that we've got established from the other players, maybe?
Let's see. So we've got. You've only got one screen. There's lots of switching here.
Sorry.
It's not your fault. I've got one screen. I'm the one who's the problem.
Yeah.
I think we established that the gas house district was not that far from Greenwich. Is that right?
I think so.
Actually, that's actually true too. So, yeah.
So, give us a detail from your cultist sheet about this source.
Let me go to the cultist sheet.
It's kind of a weird system they have for this. So you give us like some detail or phrase that is underlined from your cultist sheet, and then we'll go to Stephen and he'll pick out one from his gas house. Yes.
So right after school shut down.
Harried.
And Stephen, what's a detail from the gas house district?
This is about the cultist headquarters.
It's about we're going to apply this descriptor to this NPC.
It's NPC.
Like, have you been in contact with anyone who's been overseas?
Chess master.
Okay. So we will see you, Frank, head down, and you will go and to one of these chess clubs that is kind of like a grandmasters that have come over from Europe kind of thing, immigrants and things like that. This is one of those places that they set up to play. There's a real old tradition of that, smoky basement. And there is this very shaky guy named Throckmorton, who is your contact there. And he kind of sees you coming. And when he sees you coming, he does that thing where he does that play, a checkmate, and stands up and kind of goes off to the side to talk to you.
Seemed like a quick game there.
I was toying with him. Didn't want to hurt his feelings. What are you here for? What's going on? Why are you down here? You only want something.
You know where people have been meeting? Some of the groups, maybe?
And you could tell he's a little reluctant
left his car unlocked.
about this.
And it doesn't start.
Let's have you roll gain access. Essentially, you kind of pinned him in the corner. Again, you can take a cautious approach, a standard approach, or a risky approach here.
I'm going to do a standard, the steady approach.
Okay, then you just roll a d6.
I got a 1.
So that is a 1. So I think that you're down here in this basement, and this place, it just is filled with cigarette smoke and pipe smoke, and the ventilation is terrible. And I think as you're talking to him, we'll get a big lungful of stale old world tobacco, kind of dark stuff. And I think coughing fit is the risk I'm going to assign to you for that. Now, you didn't roll a 4 or better, which means that you didn't get what you wanted. Now, if you could spend credibility, and you're going to get one from starting this scene, as will Stephen for having kind of helped set this up. You can modify it by +1 for each, so that'd be a lot of credibility to spend to get that up there. Or going to mechanically, you can take the stall and get another point of credibility. Or you can go and back off and go and snoop around instead.
Well, I'm
going to try the stall. Let's do that. Let's engage with that.
All right. So if you're willing to take the stall on that, then you will get a point of credibility there. And the stall and see if there's anything else that you get for the stall there.
Sometimes you just need a little.
So that's just basically you gain a point of credibility to use on future scenes there. Seem reasonable?
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's come to Elijah. Elijah, where are you headed? What's the contact that you're going to try to get a hold of to get access to?
Yeah, somebody in the mayor's office. See who would know about somebody who keeps records for the mayor's office.
Okay. So this doesn't necessarily overlap with anybody's beats or neighborhood, so we'll make up a person. So we'll call them Mr. Zachary. They see you coming. They work in that sort of basement, sub-basement of records down in the offices. You know, you're walking between the stacks. It's kind of musty down here. Mostly the clatter of your footsteps as you come through here, and they see you coming, and they look perhaps not pleased to see you. Why aren't they as happy as they might otherwise be to see you?
Because I've I've gotten information out of him before that later he was kind of berated for giving up. So he's probably a little more cautious about that now.
I will say, Mr. Smith, what brings us here on this fine day?
How do you know it's a fine day? I don't think you've been out of this basement in how long?
I have my lunch delivered. I ask about the weather. That's how I know it is a fine day. Also, you're not sodden with rain, so we can guess that it's not raining outside.
Good observation. So I'm looking for records from around the time of the big Dreamland fire.
There's a lot of people asking about that kind of thing right now. A little risky for me to be sticking my nose out into it.
So I'm just asking for public records, nothing, no big deep secrets. Unless you know any.
You asked for public records, but that means digging. It means time. You want it done quickly. Let's have you roll for access. You can either do this cautiously, you can do it standard, or you can go reckless. Pushing on them. And you get a point of credibility for starting the scene, so you get a point for that.
Okay. I'm going to go standard.
Okay. So you're going to roll a d6. You are looking for a 4+.
Okay. Let's see. And I got a 3.
Now, you could spend a point of credibility to bump that to a 4 if you wanted to.
Yeah, you know what? That sounds like a good plan. So I'll just go back down to 1 credibility.
So, what is it you really want to know?
Look, we've all heard that miraculously nobody died in that fire. You ever think maybe that sounds a little too miraculous?
That is a good question. What have you heard that I should be looking into, should be asking about, should be checking on?
Well, from your bosses, apparently, somebody upstairs there thinks that not only did people die in that fire, but the bodies are still there.
All right, so you're asking about the bodies. Because we go into an ask question scene, you get a point of credibility.
Okay.
And you will roll a d6. You can take that same approach. Either you can do standard or you can do reckless. You're essentially trying to get a 6 is really what you want here to be able to say something declarative.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I'll keep going standard.
Okay.
1.
Now you could spend a point of credibility to bump that up to the 2 because it's a 2 through 5 is the middle result.
Okay. I'll do that, yeah.
How about he points you to somebody else, like points you, it says, I don't know exactly, but one of my magician friends said that they'd heard that there'd been like an exorcism performed there. And I don't know why you would need to do that if somebody didn't die there.
You have a point. Although I suppose somebody could have died before the fire, but
this is recently.
okay. This is good to know. The name of your magician friend, maybe?
Let's say Ashburn the Magnificent. I mean, Ashburn the Magnificent heard about exorcism. Does that sound like a good rumor, a good lead to follow?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Let's come back to you, Stephen. And we can follow up on lead. You could meet with other people. You could do a little downtime discussion to get another point of credibility. What would you like to do?
I think I'd like to follow up on the names I got from Pete. I figure he gave me the names of a couple kids. Like I went to the families. I confirmed that the kids were missing, and the police said, "Oh, they just ran away." You know how kids are. They refused to even take a report. And
so, who's your next source you want to get access to?
well, I mean, I talked to the families, and the one common point I had, both these kids who went missing at Coney Island, was they were really fascinated by the sideshow.
Okay.
And one of the kids in particular was fascinated by the knife thrower. So I want to talk to the knife thrower, Giuseppe.
Okay. All right. So give yourself a point of credibility. We're going over to this thing. I describe to me something about the boardwalk, the sights and sounds of this as we get to this place next to Coney Island. You tell me something about it, Scott. Tell me some feature that we see on screen as our intrepid girl reporter arrives on scene.
Just a feature of the scene to set the scene?
Yeah,
or
we'll kind of set the scene and give you a couple of details here to help us frame it out.
It's drizzling today.
Okay.
And I missed exactly where you were going, Stephen?
Coney Island.
To Coney Island itself. So there's the two active parks and the one closed park. It's drizzly, but the crowds are still really, really heavy in the other two. There's the sound of the carousels, which you can hear depending on where you're standing.
Okay.
And there are guards.
Cops out on the boardwalk here, a little unusual. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bethany, if this were a TV show or a movie, what would be the sinister detail that the camera hangs on as we see our girl reporter going through here? Is it a person? Is it a picture? Is it a display?
There's a poster advertising these sideshows, and the knife thrower. It's a painting. It's not a photograph. So it's in color, and the knife is just edged with red.
Yeah, weirdly vibrant and bright here against the kind of sepia tone background. They've done the saturation of the color to make it really pop on screen. Mm-hmm. And we see you, Clara, go into the little sideshow. There's some people watching. It's sparsely attended, but you'll see this knife thrower. He does his spiel in a very, very put on heavy Italian accent that I won't try and do. He's throwing the knives. He spins the wheel with his assistant attached to it and throws a series of 7 wavy daggers in quick succession that make a horrible plonking sound as they land, and everyone kind of does that
At some point, does he ask for a volunteer from the audience?
Yes, yes. I will need a volunteer.
And I immediately raise my hand and start walking forward before he even has a chance to point at me.
All right, young lady, young lady. Pretty, such a pretty lady. Come here, come here. Uh, I need you to take this apple.
Yes. Yes.
And I need you to take a bite of the apple and hold it there in your mouth.
Yeah. And I do, and I have very red lipstick. It is it is a lovely picture.
Now I need you to turn your face so I can see the profile. And I'm going to throw this knife and I'm going to cut that apple in half, I hope.
Yeah. And I do that, and like I strike a pose with one hand on my hip, very jaunty attitude.
And you see he kind of pulls back the knife and he's looking at you and he goes, "So you look like you might be a reporter of some kind. Just nod, yes or no. Shake your head. Oh, that's a nod. So we have a reporter here amongst us. Interesting. Now hold very, very still. And there's the. I think this is you trying to impress him to gain access.
Okay.
Do you think this is reckless?
I mean, I feel like I am literally holding steady.
Okay, then let's have you roll.
That's a 6.
That is a 6. So I think that there is this moment when a knife comes past, and I think you're going to get the second risk thing you're going to get is trimmed bangs. And that there's that moment when it comes past, and then the apple kind of half hits the ground. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's a little more enthusiastic there." And he walks up and he's like, kind of drops the Italian accent. He's like, "You got some nerve, kid."
I got some questions for you about a kid named Charlie Kelly. Think you knew him.
Maybe. What is it you want to know? What is it you want to know?
I want to know what happened to him. I mean, I don't think you were involved, but I think you knew the kid. I think he spoke to you, and I think maybe you saw something.
Let's have you roll ask questions here, Stephen. You get a point of credibility.
Okay. And that was a 2.
So on a 2, because I assume you don't want to spend 4 to pump it up to a 6.
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, that would be all my credibility.
Okay. On a 2 to 5, we work together to create a new rumor pointing towards something else, maybe to kind of refine it. I think obviously maybe it should include the Red Hood cultists or Eyeless Tom, something of that sort. What do you think the kind of the rumor here that you'd want?
I think there was a sideshow hypnotist named Mesmero who disappeared in the last couple of days.
Okay. And so Giuseppe believes missing mesmerist. What'd you say his name was?
Mesmero.
What does the Giuseppe think about this disappearance?
It's kind of suspicious. He disappeared the day before he was supposed to get paid, and you sometimes get a feeling when some of the other performers are looking at kids that there's something not quite right about them, and he got this vibe off of Mesmero.
Okay, so Giuseppe believes missing mesmerist Mesmero involved with vanished kid. Does that seem like a good way to do that?
Yeah, and
Okay.
and of course, I'm going to break into Mesmero's trailer
Okay.
and examine it. But
It's probably his
it's,
apartment at a flop house rather than a trailer here.
right.
Uh,
Oh,
but
yeah,
we'll come
fair
back to that.
enough.
Let's come back to Frank. Frank, what's the next thing that you want to look into?
Well, that was a bust. So I'm going to see if um, I'm going to go to one of the.
You allow.
Let's see. Hold on a second. Let me go back
Sure.
to the neighborhoods that the folks are from. Where's Elijah from? Mott Haven.
Mott Haven, nice industrial area.
Mhm.
I think we're okay. I mean, we get a little house happy.
So that's industrial area, and let's go back to staff meeting. Local children are saying eyeless Tom is trying to protect kids from being kidnapped. So it's an industrial area, so a lot of families live there. Some who have kids. I'm going to go to one of the bars and scout out some rumors to see if anybody's kids have gone missing. Get some verification on that aspect of the rumor.
Okay. So you'll get a point of credibility, and then Bethany, give us a detail from the Mott Haven. They've got some underlined things there.
I can't talk Thursday night, but every
Might be muted.
Yeah. So just one of the underlined
Yeah.
details. Okay. Cool. Aging.
Aging. I like that. So you will find yourself
don't eat those
at
brownies.
this real old bar. The bartender is old. The bar is old.
All right, Payne said eat the brownies.
And you kind of come in there. People have directed you to this place, Frank, as the place where this
Well,
this
good
guy
night,
knows
Carrie.
everything that goes down around here. What's his
Right.
bartender's name?
I think he's called Cal.
Cal.
Oh wait, that's half of my last name. Let's
That is
pick
true.
something different. Let's pick something different. Let's go with Jack.
Jack. So Jack, bartender that nobody gives him a last name. Come in. We're still in the early part of the day. He'll say, you want oysters?
Oysters. Yep.
Puts it out there. Coffee? Beer? What do you want?
Coffee.
Coffee.
A little early for beer for me.
It's never too early for beer.
I just said for me. I didn't say for
Okay,
everybody.
fair enough. Guy starts wiping down the bar, doing the glasses, dirty rag, dirty water everywhere. Just pushing the dirt water all over the thing.
Hey, Jack, I heard some kids have gone missing. Do you know anything about that?
Well, now there's a lead in. Come in here hot, huh? You think if I knew something about missing kids, I wouldn't have already told the cops or something? What are you saying about me?
Cops are just as crooked as gangsters. Come on. If I can get the truth out on the streets, could help a family or two.
Let's have you roll gain access.
All right, and I can fill in a detail. Is this right?
So with the gain access, we roll. Kind of describe how you just want to approach it.
D6, and I'm going to do the. I'm going to do this. Actually, was kind of reckless. I just kind of came out and did it.
Yeah, you
so
kind of did.
let's do it the way I played it. Oh, doubles. Got 2. Double 2s. Roll twice. Pick the higher number. If you roll doubles, a 1 or a 6 gain risk.
Okay, so now you could also you could spend a couple of credibility to get that up to a 4 to get the access, or you can.
I'm going to do that.
Okay, so I think there is that moment when he's kind of and he reaches over. Are you wearing a tie?
Yeah.
And I think he reaches over and he grabs your tie, and I think he does a quick smack where he brings your face down on the bar with a real quick, just like wonk, and I think he's going to give you a bloody nose.
Nice.
And he says, "What is it that you want to know specifically?"
Just a family who's lost their kids. Want to see if I can help them out.
He can give you some names like that. What is it that you want to get out of him? What's a real question? We've established that the kids are missing. We kind of know that we can get to the kids. Clara's gotten some of those names already. So what is it that you want to know here?
I want to know if they've. You seen any people coming in with red trilbies or red fedoras?
All right, let's have you roll ask questions.
I think mostly it'd be fedoras in that
Yep.
decade.
You get another point of credibility.
All right, I'm going to roll standard.
Okay.
Got a 5.
Got a 5. Do you want to bump it up to a 6?
I think I will.
Okay. So you can, with a 6, you can create a new fact by answering the question. If it was a rumor, you can now know the truth. So what is it that you want to establish, that we want to establish on the board here as a verified fact?
That the Red Hood cultists are indeed verified as being involved.
Fact. So he'll say, "I'm only willing to talk with you because those Red Hood guys are no good. They're bad news. I've seen them around. People have been talking. I know some other people who can verify it too, can give you the backup on this, that they've seen these guys around. Nobody has proof, but they've seen them around when people have gone missing. People are watching for them now around here, around this end of the neighborhoods. So, yeah, if their kids going missing, which they are, it's that Red Hood cult. But
right.
Nobody's listening to us about it.
Well, I'm listening.
And they'll nod. Good.
Thanks for the oysters.
Yeah. Sorry about the nose.
Comes with the territory. To be expected.
Let's come back to Elijah. And we can assume, by the way, just because we're playing this investigative game, that you've picked up like previous player stuff you're aware of. You picked up those details when you go in. So what's your next step here?
Yeah, I probably should go see that magician guy. About the exorcism.
Absolutely. And that was, did we give a name to the magician?
Ashburn the Magnificent.
Okay, that's right. So I imagine that this is, where is this source located at? What is it? One of the neighborhoods we've already established? In Greenwich?
Yeah. Let's put him in. Um, yeah, I think Greenwich seems like a good place.
Okay. And whose neighborhood's beat is Greenwich?
That's Frank's.
Okay. So we've got a magician. We've got that as a detail as part of that. So Bethany can mark a point of confidence. What's an underlying detail from the Greenwich that we want to add about this contact, Ashburn the Magnificent? The Magnificent. That'd be on you, right, Scott?
Yep, I'm getting to that page
sure.
in the PDF. I wanted to do makeover for this one. Property owners improve old buildings, slapping on new paint to justify new higher rents.
So I think when you arrive at Ashburn the Magnificent's place, it is a recently renovated little theater. It's kind of classy. It's a little more high end there. And when you come in, you'll kind of ask around and eventually, we'll get Mr. Ashburn. Hold on, please. And after a little bit, this magician, tucking away his white gloves into his pocket there, comes out. You can see he does a gesture and a little bit of those like a little bit of flames, real amateur wizardry, but he does a little bit of that just to kind of show off it. He's like, what, Mr. Elijah, was it?
Yeah, that's right.
I
Ashburn the
understand.
Magnificent.
Yes, you have an interest in the occult and you've come here to speak with me. How can I help you?
I'd like to know. I heard that there was an exorcism fairly recently at Dreamland.
And maybe that'll kind of stop him. He's about to say something about Dreamland. It's a highly specific question here. Why don't you come and sit down?
I do.
Did you want tea, coffee, something, a beverage of some kind?
Tea would be wonderful. Thank you.
I said, Jeeves, get some tea for Mr. Elijah, Mr. Smith. Ah, yes. So, exorcisms, you say?
Yeah.
Dreamland, you say?
With all the interest in Dreamland lately, rumors about who's going to buy it and when, I thought an exorcism might be an interesting story.
Who may I ask? And feel free not to answer me if you don't want to. Who might have pointed you in my direction?
I keep my sources anonymous.
Yes, the journalist code. The magicians have a similar code. All right, he sees he's hesitating. This is that gain access roll. Do you want to play hardball? Go for the risky? Do you want to play it cool? Do you want to go for the middle path?
I think I'm gonna go for the middle path. He doesn't seem super hard to deal with, I guess.
Yeah, let's have you roll a d6.
Let's see. 2.
Got a 2? Now you could bump it up to a 4 with a couple of points of credibility.
I could, yes. You know what? I'll do that.
Okay.
Let's make that 4.
Say, all right, I'm interested. You seem like a person of discretion. Am I
If you're asking
wrong?
if you would also be anonymous, yes, you certainly
That
would.
is, in fact, the query that I would put to you on this. So, what is it you exactly want to know, my good fellow?
Who performed or hired or who was responsible for the exorcism?
Interesting. Let's have you roll to ask questions.
Sure. And now I have no credibility.
You get 1 credibility when you go into the ask question segment.
Oh, okay. 3.
3. So what way does he point you? What's the rumor that he puts out for you to follow up on?
I think who would do an exorcism? Probably let's say a cultist.
Okay. Say, I believe that, and this is not entirely certain, but what I have heard is that the Order of the Last Dawn was involved. They're an odd cult. I know they've had some sparring matches with other cults, including the Red Hood.
Any idea what these sparring matches were over? I've barely heard of them. I would think they wouldn't want to stir up trouble with the more established cults, but
All I know is that, unlike many of the cults in the city, the Red Hood and the Last Dawn both include some practitioners of magic like myself amongst their number. Not simple theosophists or other things like that, but real practitioners. You may not be as aware of these things, but there are dark paths that magic can go down, and both of these groups have practitioners that might have set on that trail.
thank you. That's an excellent lead.
Good. And yes, anonymity.
Absolutely.
And
Your name will appear nowhere.
absolutely. Though here are some free tickets for the show. You can distribute those around your
thank you.
newsroom and stuff. I always like to have that little bit of publicity. Always glad to speak to the members of the press. And let's do this. Let's do a scene with the three of you, like at a lunch counter or at a diner, sort of in between things, and then maybe we'll do one more kind of go around on that. Does that seem cool?
All right, but can we get a break first?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll take 5. So I imagine that we actually get a scene with the three of you in the Ogden diner. It's that diner in that basement department store that the tunnel goes from the Gotham Star's offices over to it. Um, it's a kind of nice place. They do a really good soup. Today it's a clam chowder, and they'll serve that up for you. And the three of you can kind of compare notes. Maybe give some thoughts about where you're headed and any misgivings you might have. When we come to you, what are you saying there, Clara?
Yeah, well, I mean, I searched Mesmero's apartment, and all I found that looked suspicious was this piece of torn cloth, and like I pull out a piece of red cloth that has these weird symbols embroidered on it in gold thread. Frank, what do you make of this?
That sure could be one of the cultists' hoods, one of their cloaks. They're definitely involved. I confirm that.
Yeah, but what do they want with kids?
It's anybody's guess still.
Man, I don't get these cultists. I mean, gangsters I get. Gangsters, they do stuff that makes sense. These cultists are crazy.
I guess there's another cult now too. They're apparently have some beef with the Red Hoods.
This
Heard
could
they
end bad.
did an exorcism out there at Dreamland.
I guess the question is what needs to be exercised.
I don't know, but if it's those weird noises, they didn't do a very good job.
Well, you know, that's not the question. The question is, where are these kids now? Because we haven't seen any bodies turn up. So my guess is that whatever the cultists want these kids for, they're keeping them alive.
Think they're keeping them at the orphanage?
Maybe they need more members. Recruit them young.
It's an
I
interesting
mean,
way to recruit.
I don't get the sense that this is some kind of long-term project. I think we need to find these kids and find them fast, because cops sure aren't going to be doing anything to help them.
Oh yeah, that was clear. The families of these missing kids got nothing from the police.
Yeah, and that's one thing. These cultists, they're picking kids who got their parents got no clout. They got no in with the police. The police couldn't give a crap about them.
If this other cult looking to be rivals of the Red Hoods, then maybe they'd be willing to share any information they've got.
Yeah, and I mean, I got some contacts in the mob. I mean, normally they don't talk to reporters, but something like this, I mean, even the mob is gonna want to help out. If we can, I mean, if they've seen anybody doing anything weird on their turf, maybe we can get a lead there.
That's possible. We could also play one against the other. What's that other cult called?
What is it called? I don't remember.
The Golden Dawn?
Order of the Last Dawn.
Oh,
Order of the
gotcha.
Last Dawn. That's right. Yes.
Maybe tell these Last Dawn people were looking into the Red Hoods, and the Red Hoods were looking into the Last Dawn.
That's not a bad idea. Might get some information from both of them.
So I hear Clara go into the mob, and Elijah and Frank trying to play the two cults against one another. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay. You'll finish up your lunch and head out into that slight drizzle of New York, out to there. So Clara, who are you going to talk to? Where are they at?
I am going to go straight to the head of one of the local mobs, Mike Blake.
Mike Blake. And is he in a particular neighborhood, or do we just want to roll with him as he is?
Oh, let's say his mob is based in the gas house, but he lives in Brooklyn Heights.
Okay. So for the gas house, give me a underlying detail from that.
His mob controls all the gambling in the gas house district. They do a lot of numbers games.
Numbers running. Okay. So give yourself a point of credibility.
Okay, and that maxes out all of my boxes.
Okay, so we have to spend some.
Right. So that was going to be my question. That was going to be my question. It's just use it or use it or. Got it.
Yeah, I think there are a couple other ways to use. You can, let's see, what can you use it to? Yeah, it looks like it's just a modifier to numbers 1 for 1 is the spend there. So Blake knows who you are, and he is in the back room, with one of those machines, and he's checking things, and there's some people bringing him notes, and he's looking at the numbers, giving approval on bets, and he's like, Miss Mulroney.
Mike, I wouldn't bother you if this wasn't important.
That is my assumption. That is my default guess, that you would not be darkening my doorstep unless it was big.
And this is big. This is big. At least 5 missing kids, maybe more. And I got evidence. It's nothing I can go to comps with, but I've got enough to satisfy me that some cult group is grabbing these kids. And I show him the piece of cloth I got, and Mike, I got a suspicion that these kids are still alive, and I gotta find them. I gotta find where this cult is holding them.
Let's have you roll gain access. See if he's willing to take the time. If he's willing to listen to what you have to say.
Okay, that's just 1 die.
Yep. Okay.
That's a 3.
That's a 3. Do you want to spend a point and bump that up to a 4?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I says, I'll listen to what you say. Tell me what you need to know, what your question is specifically. I'll see what I can do. What is it?
I mean, my question specifically is, where could somebody be holding these kids? It's like, has Mike seen any group behaving suspiciously that where they could be holed up?
Let's have you roll ask questions.
And that's 1 die again.
Yep, unless you want to go risky and roll 2.
Yeah. What the heck? I'll roll.
You're losing money not doing that.
Yeah. All right. That's a 2 and a 3.
So and 3.
And I will
could bump it up to a 6. Get a fact on the table.
Absolutely. what's the use of credibility if you
Right.
don't lay it all on the line?
And a 2 and a 3 also means that you took the risk and didn't get anything bad happen. He says, I know for a fact, this is the place you're talking about, Dreamland, that area out there.
Yeah.
I know for a fact that a few months ago, a set of guys got hired, day laborer things, to go and excavate out some of the space underneath. So, Dreamland burned down and they had a whole like
Yeah.
underground like
Right.
tour thing there. I heard that the cults are using this place and that it is underneath it. So if you're talking about these cults being involved, these kids being gone, I bet you dollars to drumsticks that it's that place.
Mike, I owe you big for this one. You got one favor. You can call it in anytime.
Uh I'll wait till you really need something. This is about kids, so consider this one free.
Even so, Mike, I appreciate it, and I am going to find a way to show my appreciation.
All right. And you can add that as another fact below the Red Hood cultists detail on the sheet. Let's come to Frank Calhoun. What is it that you are doing? Who are you going to go and try and talk to?
I want to try to find out about the. I'm going to go the other way and go for the New Dawn.
Okay.
And where? So Ashburn believes that the order is involved. Okay, so I'm going to snoop around to see where they might have their meetings.
Okay. So that seems like you're snooping around.
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to make this risky? Do you want to make this standard?
I have got. Let's go for risky.
Okay. Then let's go ahead and have you roll.
I got a 2 and a 6.
Got a 2 and a 6. Well, the good news is with the 6, you get to create a whole new fact. Why don't you set that up, and then we'll give you the bad news.
So we have our beats are the gangsters, the cultists, and the magicians.
You can establish an absolute fact about the Last Dawn right now, about the location, about their intentions, about what they're up to involved in this.
Can it be that they're a front for one of the gangster mobs?
Absolutely.
This is the 1920s. That feels a bit stereotyped to use an Italian or an Irish name. So the Williams gang.
Absolutely.
We'll go the complete opposite way. Yeah, it's a front for the Williams gang.
Yeah. They've been using this to kind of provide them an air of legitimacy. They've spread rumors out about things. They have been going at it with the Red Hood, but yeah, they're definitely operating. And so, how is it that you determine that it's the Williams gang involved with this?
So I found out where they were having one of their meetings, and I snuck in as an initiate.
Yeah, and I think that's the classic thing. You're overhearing the meetings. You realize it's some occult stuff. Like they know some people. They've got some occult back to people there, and I think that's the point at which the heavy, meaty hand comes down on your shoulder and says, "I don't think you were invited."
I did the what? What do you mean?
Grabs onto you, picks you up, big gorilla, kind of lifts you out, and he goes, I think that I am going to show you the door, sir.
Oof. No need. No need.
No. Let me show you the door here. And he
I can
walks you,
walk.
and you realize he's walking you up a set of stairs.
Oof. Oh no.
And he says, unfortunately, egress to the lower levels is somewhat cut off right now. So, and he boots open this window. I'm going to have to show you the doors down below. And he throws you out the window, defenestrates you.
Nice.
What is it? What is the injury when you land?
Well, let's see. I'm a writer. I'm going to break my arm and shoulder. So I'm going to have my arm in a sling.
So,
this is my good arm.
Put arm injury, and put an exclamation point by it. That is a hardship. You land with a thwack. You roll away. People on the street don't look. They know this is mob area. They see you fall. Somebody throws somebody out the window. They just keep walking. And it's raining just lightly on you too. As you haul yourself up.
Haul myself up, pull out a wet cigarette and try to light it.
With your one good arm.
Yeah.
Let's come back to Elijah. What's your next step here?
Oh, well, I guess I'm gonna talk to I'm gonna look up one of these magicians in the Red Hood
Okay.
cult.
Absolutely. So give yourself a point of credibility. So these guys are pretentious. So his name is Nostromo.
Yeah.
So where do you track down this magician for the Red Hood?
Let me look at these neighborhoods. You'd think I would remember them by now. I mean, let's see. It's pretentious.
Is he in Greenwich?
Yeah, I think that's a common, there's a lot of magicians probably there.
Sure. So Scott, give me an underlying detail from Greenwich, and I'll add it into Nostromo.
Right. Greenwich. So this is Nostromo. Oh, let's go with curiosities. New boutiques sell authentic bohemian bric-a-brac.
So so he is in an antique shop here, tchotchke and things around, and very much treasures of the Orient, he says in the most racist way possible. And he will, come to see. How can I, Nostromo, help you? What is it that you desire?
I need some information that maybe only you possess.
Oh, secrets of the occult and the uncanny, certainly. What is it you're looking for? What is it you seek, young one?
What do you know about the Order of the Last Dawn?
Oh, dangerous territories here. I'm not sure if I should speak to someone who's outside my order. Give yourself a point of credibility, and you can roll to gain access.
Sure. Let's see. I'm not sure what approach it is. I'm gonna I'm acting like I'm investigating the Order of the Last
Sure.
Dawn
I
for
think you're
these
being.
missing children.
Are you putting yourself at risk, or are you being more cautious here? We're kind of holding the middle
Um,
ground.
I mean,
You're losing money, not going risky.
true. Yeah, you know what? I think like I'm deceiving him, and that's risky.
Yeah. Let's have you roll 2d6.
All right. 2 and a 3.
2 and a 3. Yeah. How much credibility do you have?
I believe I have 3.
Yeah. So you can spend 1, and he will listen to you. We'll say,
Sure.
there's something about you, something about what you say that interests me, intrigues me. There's an aura that you have, and I, Nostromo, very curious about that. What is it that you seek? What can these eyes present to you?
I'm following up on some completely unsubstantiated so far rumors that the Order of the Last Dawn might be responsible for disappearances of children.
Interesting. These are disquieting rumors that you say here.
They are.
Certainly, I wonder why you would come to my to Nostromo's doorstep with such a thing. But let's not dwell on that too long. All right. So you're trying to get information. Do you want to try and get it out of him right now, or do you want to try and break in later? What are you feeling like?
Now that I think about it, I think I want to break in later.
Okay.
I think the main purpose of this was giving him a false sense of confidence that,
Yeah.
The Last Dawn is suspected, not the redheads.
In that case, let's have you snoop around, but take advantage on it.
Sure.
Get an extra
All right.
die.
Cool. 6 and 2.
6 and a 2. So the good news is you get to create an absolute new fact. The bad news is we're going to have you mark a one of those conditions on the dice. I want you to write. Let's actually write marked. Like as he's talking to you, he does the occult gestures to say this person is somebody I want to keep an eye on. Gives you the evil eye a little bit there. What fact do you want to establish from your snooping around?
Nostromo, for all that he is a thoroughly unpleasant person, is actually investigating the Red Hoods.
Nice. Okay.
I'm not sure on whose behalf, but...
Okay. So we will put that as another fact. Does it seem to you like he's investigating it for good purposes?
It's hard to tell. I think I just find like some ledgers and some notes, and no indication of who he's collecting this information for. It might be for another cult, might be for the mob, who knows?
That works. So we have 4 facts established. We've got some of the rumors that we've kind of seen how they've trailed out, and some that are still to go. We've got our facts and hearsay on the table. So we are going to take up next time. We're going to continue this same process, get a few more facts. Once we've got a certain amount of facts, and maybe we've made progress on actually getting some action on solving some things, then we'll kind of create headlines and decide how our stories actually change the world. So that's the process that we're going to do. Seem like an okay place to cut, everybody? Okay, then I'm going to stop the recording.